Does anybody else remember when Leon Bailey absolutely burst on the scene for Aston Villa? His 30-minute debut against Everton was one of the most exciting performances I'd ever seen by a Villa player. When he ran through and smashed it into the net to make it 3-0, I was like, oh my days. We have actually signed a world-class superstar. I'd been watching all the YouTube videos of him at Bayern Leverkusen and I was like, this lad is unbelievable. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of caught myself saying Jack Grealish would not been able to do that. But then the season went on after scoring that thunder bastard of a strike. He, I don't know, hamstrings made out of cheese strings just absolutely fell apart and we didn't really see much of him. When he came back, he was in a Stevie system, which was depressing. He wasn't getting much game time. But then he went into pre-season and he was given it large. He was talking a lot. His bloody agent, Mr. Butler, his dad, giving it giving it the big one on social media. But Leon was saying, people have doubted me. Wait and you see this season. But then the season starts and Stevie's still not mad on playing him, and there was rumours on deadline day and in around it when Manchester United signed Antony for some god-awful amount of money that Leon Bailey was the player that they would like at Ajax to replace him. And let me tell you right now, I am so happy. I'm so happy that he didn't go, because I think we just might have actually got a world-class talent on our hands. I'm going to dive into some data first of all to try and look at Leon's season so far. And then I'm going to jump into a couple of eye tests where I pick a few moments from some of his best games. Well, actually, both moments I'm going to dive into are from the Manchester United game and just show what he can to offer. But first off, I got a few cold, hard facts from Aston Villa Stato, which just show the kind of season and influence that Bailey is having so far. He's our top goal scorer, our top contributor, I should say, with 3 goals and 2 assists. One thing that's quite interesting that I'm going to dive into is he's yet again outperforming his XG by 1.1. It's something that he's done throughout his career, so I want to examine that because that's the kind of thing that caught my eye. He has the most expected assists in this Villa side. He also is second for key passes, only behind Emi Buendia and Dougie Luiz. He has 12 key passes. And finally, he is easily Aston Villa's best dribbler. He has 50% more to Coutinho with 17 successful dribbles. And more importantly, 4 of those dribbles have actually led to creating a shot, which is a club high, and it's something that we are crying out for as a club. But the first thing that I want to touch on is this graphic here. It's a little bit small, but I can tell you what it says. Essentially, over the course of Leon's career, he has continually outperformed his XG. When you look at Messi stats, Ronaldo stats, Harry Kane stats, the top finishers continuously outperformed their XG. Now, he hasn't done it every season, but it's pretty healthy. With an XG of about 23, he scored 27 goals, which is well outperforming it. And 4 out of the 7 seasons, he's actually come out with a plus. That fills me with hope. We had 7 goals in 9 games, and I don't want to bang on about Gerrard too much, but we simply just weren't creating any chances at all. Like none. We were just under Gerrard. We were creating almost nothing. It was depressing football. It was some of the worst football that any of us have ever watched. But if we start creating chances, maybe Leon Bailey is going to be the player who will put away those chances. Maybe he is the top class finisher we need. Another thing that I think is a very powerful tool that Leon possesses, and in my opinion, this is where he could really become world class. You can see here, compared to some of the best dribblers in the league, Salah, Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, he's actually completing more dribbles per game at a higher success rate, which bodes very, very well. I don't know if anyone remembers the moment against Manchester United in the League Cup where he dinked by like 3 or 4 players, looked like a prime Ronaldinho, plays the ball into Ollie Watkins, who unfortunately did fluff his lines. But if we look at this is one of the examples of when Leon uses some of his best attributes. He has speed, he has the strength, he has touch, he has awareness. And I think in this very small sequence, we can actually see them all. JJ plays the ball into him, and you can see he's surrounded by a couple of players, but he's not worried about that. He has the awareness just to take a touch, take 2 players completely out of the game, and then drives forward into space. And he does what Jack Grealish used to do. Do you remember how Grealish would just be a magnet to players? Like people would just get dragged towards him, and then he'd play the ball into whoever, Matty Target or El Ghazi, and he was making those players all look so much better. But I really feel like this is something that Bailey does very well. He gets his head up, brings the players in towards him, and then he just feeds it into Emi Buendia exactly where we want him to be. The one thing about him is that he's a high usage player and he does take kind of big risks, but you need players who are going to attempt to get the ball in between the lines, who are going to attempt to play the true balls, because those are the balls, even though they're the most risky in terms of losing possession, they're the most potent in terms of causing chances and us actually scoring goals. So I think just from that little sequence, it's not much, but I think it's enough to kind of show what Bailey will be about. Now, you could look at many videos and you will see he's continuously doing these dribbles and taking players out of the game. But in this same game, which I actually was at with my dad, we have this moment where you can see him, if you see it, this little arrow here, he's in the number 9 position and the ball falls to Ollie Watkins, who does exceptionally well. He takes a touch and brings the ball into the middle of the park. And if you actually see, Bailey starts to move into the space that Jacob Ramsey is occupying. He almost causes the attack to break down, because what you want in this situation is for Bailey to keep the centre backs pinned and for Jacob to have this space in the middle, and then he can look to get in behind. But as you can see, he notices that Ramsey is going to get the ball and immediately he spins. Martinez has been pulled out of position, which I understand he's a little bit attracted to the ball, but with Bailey's pace, this is just going to work beautifully. Ramsey takes an exceptional touch straight away on the half turn, and look at Bailey. He knows all day long he has got the beating of Martinez in a foot race, and then it just comes down to, can he take a good touch? Can he finish? And can he make it 1-0 to Aston Villa against United to set us up for a historic win, which was one of the best days I've ever had at the footy with my dad? Yes, he can. He takes one touch, sets it up, and David De Gea is one of the best shot stoppers in the league. You can say what you want about his distribution and other bits, but his first touch is perfect. The finish is beautiful. And Aston Villa, Villa Park, just erupted. It was an exceptional start for Leon Bailey under Emery, and it was an exceptional start for Emery at Aston Villa. What I'm interested now in diving into is, what are we going to see in terms of how is Bailey going to play under Emery? Like, what position he's going to play? And the player who I thought was worth diving into and having a look at from his time at Villarreal was Arnaud Danjuma. Now, I might be butchering that pronunciation, but as you can see over here on this graphic, these players are very, very similar. Like, they almost look like they're the exact same. I got this on SofaScore, but Danjuma played as part of a front two in the 4-4-2 system that it would appear that Emery is going to persist with, because that's what he's played so far since he got here. But if you look at his profile, it just gives a very clear comparison. The two shapes are just so similar. Leon does have, I would say, better creativity. He's going to create more chances, but so far Danjuma has been more clinical in front of goal. Maybe under Emery, if he becomes part of a front two beside Ollie Watkins, which I could very much see happening, we might see the output increase. And we might see Leon Bailey becoming like a proper prolific striker who scores maybe 15 Premier League goals. We are crying out for a player who does that every season. Watkins looked like maybe he could potentially be that player, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be. I have one more graphic that I just want to look into. If you look at the heat map here, this is Danjuma's heat map for Villarreal. He is playing in the front two, but you can see like he's pulling out onto the wing quite a lot and then cutting back inside and using his finishing to get a lot of goals. He plays as, you would say, like an inverted position, right? And I think we might see Bailey doing something similar, but on the other side, whereas you can see Bailey's heat map here. He does spend a lot of time out here. He looked ineffective at times on the right wing under Stevie, but I honestly think that had more to do with the fact that Stevie was playing some football that Steve Bruce would have been proud of, and he just didn't want anybody to be attacking at any point. Like, I've no idea if any player could have looked good in Stevie's system, but I think we're going to see Bailey essentially as like a number 10, producing more flutters than Danjuma, which we already touched on, and probably converting maybe slightly less. But if he continues to impress and develop under a manager that who has the tactical astuteness of Emery, I genuinely believe that Bailey could become a world-class player. Now, will he stick around at Aston Villa if he becomes a world-class player? I'm not really too sure. There is some murmurs and some linking of him going to Chelsea. If that happens, some Villa fans won't be too happy. But if he becomes a player who we bought in for 30 million quid and we sell for 60, 70 million quid, that is part of being a sustainable business. And if he doesn't, we could have a genuinely world-class talent on our hands. I am so excited to see how Bailey will develop under Emery, because in my opinion, he is one of the most exciting players in the league when he is on form. And I think Emery will get a system that gets the best out of him, and we are going to see him win the Aston Villa Player of the Year. And I think we're going to see him get into double figures, which is a big shout in the Premier League this season. I would love to know what you think of Bailey so far this season. If you did make it this far, I would love if you hit that sub button, If you want to get in the comments, I will get back to all of them and I'll hear your opinions. Thank you so much for watching. This was Leon Bailey's Season in Review. I'm Fintan Hand. I'm addicted to Villa, and I'll talk to you next time.